Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. It's a good feeling to be back here. Such a privilege, to wake up, and you are still on this part of, life. We are very happy to be here. I am. And of course, I'm Femi Ojo. That is my name. And I want to welcome you to Morning Spring today on Western Spring Television. The first one for this week, the first one for this month. By the way, I think it's right to say a happy new month to our TV viewers across the world. The last time we saw was quite a long time ago. It was last month. And now we are here doing this with you. And this runs every weekdays, 7 a.m. This is where we talk about everything that is important, identifying what the issues are, preferring solutions, and it is done, by eminent men and women. And of course, you are allowed to be part of the conversation because it's about you distinguished and fellow Nigerians, people living here and abroad as well. You are in for a good ride. This morning, this is where we say it as it is. Good morning, gentlemen. Of course, good morning, Daniel.
Yeah, good morning, Femi.
Good morning. How are you?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
As always. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, viewers from all over the world. It's a beautiful Monday morning. The first day of the week. It's a new week. It's a new month. It is the month of June. Did you know that June was actually named after the Roman goddess Juno, Roman goddess of youth and protection? The root name is gotten from the Latin word luno. So it actually symbolizes youth, vital energy, and fertility. So whatever you choose to celebrate in June, it is a pleasant month. It is a beautiful month, the 6th month of the year. It's also the start of summer in some places around the world. So good morning once again. Welcome to Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Emeka Daniel is my name. And like Femi said, we do this every day from Mondays to Friday, bringing you the best of news and of course analysis and interesting, powerful conversations that shape our nation and the world. You do not want to miss any part of the show this week. Thank you once again for joining us. And it promises to be a great day, a great week, and of course, a great month, as always.
Definitely. And of course, the weekend was quite a busy one, even last week, And by the way, the president had been in Lagos for a few days now. He went there for a couple of things. Very key is to note that he was at the site of the ongoing Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, in which we learned...
I think he commissioned a section of it.
A section of it, 30 kilometers, by the way, out of the 740 or 50 kilometers, stretch from the southwest to the south-south. And, many governors were there. In fact, almost everybody was there as far as the hierarchy of the APC is concerned. And it was greeted with pomp and pageantry. When the president moves, everybody moves.
Absolutely.
The previous conversation of the time that he came to Lagos last year, that conversation happened again, in which you see countless SUVs in that train of the president. Now, some will say it's not just about the president. There are other people, that will be in his train, governors who will have left their state to be part of the commissioning of a 30-kilometer, first part section of that project. And tongues are wagging already to say, is it really worth it? How significant is it for the president to leave Abuja, to come and commission a part of a program, of a project that is less than 3% or so? But, for the handlers of the president, they will say, is not commissioning like the whole thing is done. It's more like we are working. The world needs to see in their own explanation.
Absolutely. That's just show business. Again, it's a politicians, and of course they have to, bring their cameras to let everyone know that they are working. But again, like you said, the work is just, still at the, initial stages.
Yeah.
Exactly.
30 kilometers out of 750.
So we shouldn't be celebrating now. It's too early for celebration, as some would say. Let's see the work. Go some stretch. Let's know that you've really done something. Perhaps if you've done like a quarter or even a half of it, then we can say, okay, fine, we're moving. But I do believe they'll be able to complete if they continue with that pace, I mean, with that vigor,
it's an
that energy.
8 years project, by the way. It's not just a 1 year project. So,
so he has an excuse to say, oh, you know, I have to be in office to complete this.
I don't know.
But government should be a continuum.
It is.
Whether or not he comes back, actually, that project should continue.
And it's quite, the project is in trillions of naira, billions of dollars, actually. And there are, you know, skepticism and doubts about the reality of the project. If actually it's just, the project is just there, you know, for many persons that are not in that corridor, I think these are the explanations to show the world that this is working. You know, it's a coastal road, it's not your everyday project. They call it a mega super highway, actually, super highway rather. And these are some of the things to show the world that work is being done on these. But whether we need that pomp and noise and
pageantry,
every governor's coming to that place is another thing. You mean you left your state to come to this place to come and see, and then all of you are just hounding the press. You know the way we do
just
here.
To get,
everybody's face must show in the camera.
Perhaps they left their states, you know, just to get a better view. You know, sometimes when you're watching through the television, you might miss, you know, some details. I mean, so for them to get a better
whatever
view.
your intentions are, I don't know that. For many of them, the Senate President, all of those guys were there to be part of a 30-kilometer commissioning, among other things. Sanwo-Olu was there again. Although there was a particular strange site in which many persons are downplaying that, you know, in the past few months, there are many persons who said, with that development of Obasa being removed as speaker, and, you know, they possibly Abuja didn't approve of it, if you understand what I mean by Abuja. The guy was restated at the end of the day. Long story cut short, we let, he will just be there so that he can resign, and so other persons will come. He has spent months there. I saw a video of the guy, the speaker, enjoying life. You know, he's a jai guy.
Absolutely. You know, when they removed him, he said he were joking. He said he were joking.
He just
came back. He went to Abuja.
Whatever it is, the Gestapo style of the police and all of those things, withdraw from the former. I mean, the woman who has succeeded him, who has been, she has reverted back to her previous position. That's Miss Miranda, and now the deputy speaker, and the life goes on. Some will say maybe the governor knows about it, you know, allegations and, you know, some of those things. And since then, political calculators in Lagos are saying it seems the governor has stepped on the wrong toes. And so the optics has not really been good for him. So at the weekend, I think at that particular project, there was something that happened in which the president came in and he was greeting everybody with handshake. And when he got to Jide Sanwo-Olu, he didn't greet him. He went to the next person.
Oh, I missed that. Really?
Missed that. And many persons are playing it down to say, oh, maybe they have greeted before. And maybe it's just, you know, making a mountain out of a molehill. But, you know, optics matters.
Yes, absolutely.
It was, the president was, all of them were lined up at that event, at the venue, and he was greeting everybody with a handshake. And Jide Sanwo-Olu was the next at the point. He jumped him, moved to the next person.
No, people will never miss that. Because it also happened, there was a time a pope was greeting some cardinals. There was a black cardinal there. He didn't shake him. So people don't miss such details.
And then at the site of the commissioning, this big superhighway, 30 kilometers part of commissioning, you know, everybody were there. And you expect the host governor, although it's a federal government project, so when you see Dave Umahi, you see all of those guys.
Of course,
Sanwo-Olu was a bit far away from them, you know. But then maybe we should concentrate on what really matters. Politicians, we have the idea.
And again, everything happening shows that the case of Obasa, for instance, once you are loyal to the president, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there's no limits to what you can do, where you can get to. Exactly. Well, so that's just it.
But then, before we go to the papers, it will be unfair for us not to recognize the horror and the pain, you know, that has greeted that unfortunate flooding that happened in Niger State. As at Saturday, we learned more than 150 bodies have been recovered. You know, that flooding that happened in Makwa, you know, in some areas. And when you see the aerial view of that particular disaster, it is a submerge of almost the entire stretch. Submerge, not just house business being flooded, houses being submerged. And, you know, bodies, 150 bodies have been recovered. And so if 150 bodies are recovered, that means that's the people they have seen. Most likely there will be many more that might not be seen. And it's a disaster. And afraid for me, it might have happened in Niger State, but that's a disaster of a national dimension in which they need every help that they can get right now. You know, we spoke on it last week, in which we said, didn't we see this coming? Are there no scientific postulations and warnings to these? Were steps taken? You know, you can't stop it when it's coming. You can't, especially if it's a natural disaster. But can you move away? Can evacuation be done? Can the right things be done so as to mitigate that disaster? And now the whole place is flooded and people are being killed.
So quite unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
The residents of Niger State. We do wish the families of the bereaved fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Another tragedy that occurred, that took place, as that of Team Kano. They were going home from
coming back from Abeokuta
National Sports Festival from Ogun State, and they had an accident. And I think it was around Kano Zaria Expressway or something. Their bus
they were in Kano State already.
Exactly.
40 or 50 kilometers from the city center. The vehicle fell off the bridge.
And 22 died. I mean, no.
It's a sad case. And, you know, it's a time that many persons will be questioning what happened, what transpired.
You know,
it was a coaster bus.
Yeah.
Fell off a bridge, landed, and it was disaster. And it was made up of athletes, administrators, and journalists.
Absolutely.
Not
quite
just only
unfortunate. You know the problem with bad roads, and again, long distance road travels in Nigeria. The roads are not so good. You have to factor in fatigue on the part of the driver.
Many things.
And different factors.
Many things.
But that loss was huge, was massive. I think the governor declared today a public holiday to mourn the souls of the deceased. Quite unfortunate.
People went to represent their state in different capacities. And the event was over. They were in the state already, you know, and it happened. And that shows the fickle nature of life, the transcendent nature of life. You are bubbly, you are speaking, you are talking, you are making demands, you're sleeping,
making
you are
plans
eating,
for the next day,
making plans, giving others. You know, many of them might have even called their relatives or wives. We are coming, make this food. You know, it happened. Life will happen to everybody at some point in different ways. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. But then this is Monday. We have so much more for you. Stay with us. Vanguard newspaper is our first point of call. Federal government's gas-powered vehicle scheme runs into major hitch nationwide. FG's gas-powered vehicle scheme runs into major hitch nationwide. The 785.6 billion investment threatened by what? By who? You get to have, you know, a detail from the paper. Refuel stations, conversion centers, other facilities grossly inadequate. CNG buses, other equipment rot in parking lots. Current pain is temporary. President of CNG initiative. You know, one we want to ask, what is the true definition of temporary, especially in this government?
When the buses are rotten in parking lots, just imagine that. I mean, other equipment just wasting away.
It shows that we are not ready for whatever we are banding around. You know, I asked somebody the other time, how many CNG on a particular program? How many of these CNG initiative and facilities do we have in Osun State? I've only seen one in Osogbo. I know of one. And if it's functioning or not, I don't know. So how many of those do we have? And how some states have gone ahead of federal government to buy these CNG buses? How functional are they?
Absolutely.
And these are billions of people's money invested on this just to show that we are moving. But the question is, are we really moving?
Again, did they do the proper calculations, the proper feasibility studies?
Well,
because before launching into such a huge project, you should have done all your feasibility studies, everything. You should have considered every possible factor before launching. Now we're having issues of, you know, inadequate facilities, refueling stations and all that, equipment.
And even the buses that are bought are not being used.
Just there.
Rotting there at the parking lot. All right, 2027, Tinubu should not play God. Sule Lamido And WAEC, thugs hired by parents assault vice principal for preventing cheating in Ondo. That should be investigated. FG orders employee compensation scheme for civil servants. And 50 killed, 15 parishes short by armed herders in Makurdi Diocese. Catholic priests, that's their reality. And APC primaries, Amechi gave Tinubu dose of his own medicine, showing her. Right, and Nigeria, 6 others affected as Saudi Arabia suspends block work visa. And debt bidding, no sin in borrowing. Presidency, here we go. And Dangote refinery symbolizes hope for Africa, ECOWAS leaders. And here we have from the Mr. and Mrs. Corner, I can't believe Juliana dumped her husband for another man. I told my friends that I can never decamp. I belong to a solid party. And the man there said, I have transferred 500,000 to your account. And the same person, the person who said he or she will never decamp, shouts, Jagaban. All right, you know, that'll be all from the Vanguard.
And from the Vanguard newspaper, we move straight to the front page of This Day newspaper this morning. U.S. links surge in Nigeria's terror attacks to exit from Niger, Chad. U.S. links surge in Nigeria's terror attacks to exit from Niger, Chad, with riders says it's no longer able to monitor their activities in Africa, declares Sahel region global terrorism epicenter. States terror group may soon be able to strike inside U.S. And also another rider alleges China only interested in access to Africa's resources. Of course, not only China, most of these other countries are already interested in the resources in Africa. That's a fact well known to Africans. Away from that, moving on to other stories still on the front page of This Day newspaper this morning. Fitch upgrades Fidelity Bank's national rating to A+, affirms long-term IDR at B. You might want to read up details of that story on the front page of This Day newspaper this morning. And right there, you see the picture of the launch of United Capital Asset Management West Africa with some top officials right there. And finally, from the front page of This Day newspaper this morning, Wabara to National Assembly, our democracy under state capture. Rise up to challenge. Wabara to National Assembly, our democracy under state capture. Rise up to challenge. You find that story on page 16 rather, of This Day newspaper. And that'll be all from the front page of This Day newspaper this morning.
All right, from the front page of This Day newspaper, we move to the next, still looking at what the newspaper segment has for us. Tribune, manufacturers lament mounting challenges. Manufacturers lament mounting challenges, and riders to that say 767 manufacturing companies shut down in 2023. Over 18,000 jobs lost in 2024. Cost of imported raw materials surged by 118%. Spending on alternative energy hit 1.1 trillion naira in 2024. You know, I'm not sure the handlers of Mr. President will agree with these statistics, because part of what they said in their 2 years assessment or scorecard is the fact that no manufacturer or manufacturing plant or company are shut down since they came on board. But now they can't say that. Manufacturers are saying over 18,000 jobs lost in 2024. and 767 manufacturing companies shut down in 2023.
Absolutely. There's no way the president will come out to say that no firms were shut down.
I've seen that.
No, that's a pure. No, that's a pure lie. That's why I said most of what they release coming from the president are just propaganda.
Well, that's why the people when we have to review
multinationals even shutting down. I know some multinationals that have shut down and left Nigeria. So
the last 2 years.
Yes. So what are we talking about?
Interesting. Now, federal government mandates employees compensation scheme for public workers and FAC allocation to state up by over 62% in 2 years. FAC allocation to state up by 62% rather in 2 years presidency. Many states now have more money. But the angle that we don't usually add, even when these might be true, is the fact that even the federal government now has more money. Absolutely. So when they say states have more money, how about you two having more money? Everybody has more money. Sorry, all of those times. Those arms of government, tiers of government rather, have more money now. So it's not just the state, but then this is their own statement. And polling agency releases results of political trend survey in Osun. You want to have an idea of the political survey in Osun. Polling agency have a result on political trends survey in Osun. By the way, the date for the election has been announced, the gubernatorial election in Osun State. And that will be 8/8/2026, right? So 8th day of the 8th month of the year 2026 will be the day that, officially speaking now, ceteris paribus, that the Osun people and residents will be going to the poll, either to renew the mandate for the current governor
or elect a new governor,
to have other people occupy.
And candidates have started emerging, from different quarters. Just yesterday I was reading the account of the MD of Mutual Benefits Assurance declaring exactly.
Dr. Agubi,
declaring his interest, to go for the ticket of the APC.
He's a Nigerian.
Absolutely.
And he's a Osun resident. Everybody has a chance to do that. Maybe
you two might just pick up a ticket,
That's good. That's nice. At some point, so why not?
No, you can do it now. Just have faith. Just do it.
All right, back to business. Kano accident, fatigue, excessive speeding caused death of 21 athletes.
I mentioned it. Fatigue, long distance road travel.
Kano accident, fatigue, excessive speeding caused death of 21 athletes. FRSC, it is coming from the road safety. It's quite a long journey. Abuja to Kano. Not blaming them. But you talked about it earlier, and I had experience of this, for like 6 years while, I was at a different part of the country, and it's a long journey. And, sometimes I look at those drivers because when you are with them, you see some of them with stuff. When I mean stuff, the one they chew, the one they drink, and all of those things, just to keep alert. But then your body is your body. At some point, you don't know when it will just shut down. Absolutely. Because you have overstretched. You see some of them moving from, for example, from Oshogbo to Sokoto. That's quite some journey. In a day, they will get there maybe in the midnight, and in the morning, they are returning. And you wonder, how can he, and they've been doing that for years, but the day the thing will go wrong, nobody will be told. These are some of the things that happens. And in fact, the road safety, either in Nigeria, all over the world, there are rules that say, after some hours of journey,
you should
disembark, take a rest, take a walk, eat something, relax before you move. But the way we do around here, we do like we have one kind of tough spirit. Which you just want to do everything, grab whatever we can grab, hustle. Hustling is good. But maybe it's high time we start up, we just did better.
Absolutely.
Actually.
We should really start keeping to rules. I remember then we used to train people on HSC. We tell them when you work for 2 hours, after 2 hours, take at least 15 minutes rest before proceeding.
It's a lot.
But you see people working very long hours at a stretch.
It's a sad situation. We're not victim blaming at all. Then maybe those of us that are alive can take a lesson from this. That is, people with ambition gone, because it's just a national sports festival. So there might be many of them who have never even tasted continental action. Talk less of international actions. Absolutely. And they have some of these ambitions all wiped off.
Quite unfortunate.
We commiserate with them again. NDLEA bus syndicates sponsoring pilgrims with cocaine to Hajj. That's one conversation that, partly happened at the weekend, that some of these persons, are having ulterior motive. It's not just to go and worship. some of those things are being sponsored by syndicates. You know, if they go through, then they are lucky. If they don't, you are caught, and there is nobody you can fish out that this is the sponsor of why you have done this. You are the one that have been caught. And this is some of the, and the land you are going to, Saudi Arabia, has a zero tolerance for drug trafficking.
They just execute.
All right. FARC allocation, I think I took that earlier, and you have the picture there of, let me take a look, the head of service of the Federation, Mrs. Esther, was in Jack with the managing director, Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, Oluwaseun Falaye, during a visit. All right. Top strip, Dangote refinery can meet a region's petroleum needs. ECOWAS president, Dangote refinery can meet a region's petroleum needs. And Nigeria loses $8.8 billion in annual revenue for informal sector. That's coming from AFDB. And by the way, the man bowed out at the weekend. Akinwumi Adesina.
Yeah, but he's still there. He's still be there till the end of August.
Yeah, of course. You know, that's what they do. When I mean bow out, that means officially. That's the last general meeting that they will have before the new guy comes up. But that was what I mean by that. And it was quite a worthy, you know, applause for him in the old room. And commendations have been pouring out from everywhere around the world. For a Nigerian to be leading, and it's one country member body, he has done well for himself. Yeah. Kudos. This is the part where he takes a bow and like, you have done well for yourself. For 10 years.
He has really done well.
And the man, there's this grace. I don't mean spiritually speaking now. There's this aura of, he's a likable man. Absolutely. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, just one jolly good fellow. No bad energy, no bad air. Home and abroad.
Everyone speaks well of him.
Well of him, really. It's just one good fellow. You know, I saw a picture of him, or a video where at his presentation, you know, possibly virtually the last before the handing over, he came in with this music, this video, or the music of We Are the World, We Are the Children.
Oh, Michael Jackson.
I'm telling you, and the world, it was a beautiful moment for him. And I think these are the kind of people we should emulate. He was in government, and he was a minister for agriculture under Jonathan. You know, his works, you know, has been speaking for him. He has spent 10 years at the international stage, and some are saying maybe he should come back and do something for his country, you know, even when not in elected position, maybe other appointments. That is, if he's willing.
Well, I think he's going to go into politics, you know, from some of the things
but then I think lately. After he's good, right, he might just take some break, enjoy life.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
But again, people just like the spotlight. Sometimes he might still want to go into politics.
Well,
but like you said, he should just enjoy his life.
My brother, you've been working for like 10 years straight. All right. And how over 60 airlines folded up in 3 decades from investigations. That'll be all from the Nigerian Tribune.
And from the Nigerian Tribune, we move straight to the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Let's check out some of the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper. The major headline here: Grim toll, states move to evacuate flood zones. Grim toll, states move to evacuate flood zones. With riders, Niger buries 153. States brace for heavy rains. Citizens plead for action. Mokwa survivors fear diseases outbreak. Quite unfortunate, still talking about the floods in Niger State right there, that they've buried 153. Quite unfortunate one right there for residents of Niger State. Away from that, terrorists eyeing Nigeria, West Africa coastlines. That's according to the US. Terrorists eyeing Nigeria, West Africa coastlines, and that's coming from the US. You find that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Moving on to other stories. Nigeria's petrol price 55% below West African average, and that's coming from Dangote. That's Alhaji Aliko Dangote. Nigeria's petrol price 55% below West African average. You find that story on page 34. Defamation. Natasha to appear in court Tuesday. Defamation. Natasha to appear in court Tuesday. You find a story on page 7 talking about Senator suspended. Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaha. I have to remember that.
Governor, suspended senator.
All right. Absolutely. You find that story on page 7. Let's see how it goes. I know she insisted she wasn't going to withdraw that case, that she will make a case in court. And a lot of people try to, talk her out of it, try to convince her to withdraw that case. But she's saying, no, let's go to court. Well, because she's certain she will prove her case in court. We do wish her best of luck. But again, if you look at the forces she's up against, some would say that will be a tall order. Tall order for her.
Well, justice should be justice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Away from that, on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, 7 banks' reserves with CBN surged to 18.8 trillion naira. 7 banks' reserves with CBN surged to 18.8 trillion naira. You find that story on page 33. That's massive. Nigerian banks are making, I want to say making one hell of a profit. And that's just it. Nigerian banks are doing so well, so well. The other day I listened to, it wasn't a recent interview, that's the owner of Zenith Bank, Jimovia. He was speaking, talking about how, he made it so much in banking sector in Nigeria that you cannot make that kind of money anywhere in the world. He admitted it. You cannot make that kind of profit anywhere else in the world. What Nigerian banks are making. Quite interesting. Away from that, moving on to other stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. NDLEA intercepts Saudi-bound pilgrims with drugs. NDLEA intercepts Saudi-bound pilgrims with drugs. You find that story on page 5. Femi, are they going there to pray with the drugs? That's the question. You already know. Are they trying to pray with the drugs?
Those affected, they have their motive. Already, and of course, where, biblically speaking, it is said, the Bible said, even where the children of God are gathered, you would see, other people with different things. Even in churches, people come there for different reasons. Why do phones get lost in churches? Even pastor phone they lost.
Absolutely, if you're not careful.
So you have different people with different intentions across religions, across party lines. That's why we're humans. The ability to make our choices, that the right way or the wrong way.
Quite unfortunate. You find details of that on page 5. It should be a holy, but people, it shows how people have no respect. For their God or whatever they serve. It should be a holy.
For some, it's just religion. For some, it's spirituality. For some, it's sightseeing.
That's true. People go there with different motives.
And now, obviously, for some, it's about crime.
And they will have to answer for it. They have to pay for it. And right below that, we have another story. Without allocation, Osun taps project funds to pay LG workers. Without allocations, Osun taps project funds to pay local government workers. You find that story on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And just by the side, you see the picture of executives of United Capital. And that'll be all from the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. All
right, just a few headlines from the Daily Trust. And, it's just about the full movement of those fallen heroes, because obviously they are. They are paid the supreme price, and of course, they did that while representing the estate. And he's talking about the auto crash and the last moments of those Kano 22. Sad one there. You need the detail of that. You have to pick up a copy of the Daily Trust. That will be all. Actually, interesting headlines today as we currently have it. Now, when we come back from this break, we speak to issues, matters are brewing especially in this state, in Osun State. You remember the local government in Broglio, which the state has been in for some time. The local government administration in Osun State has been rendered inactive because the local government workers are at home. And that happened, because of the violence that greeted the back and forth of the APC and the PDP in Osun State, while the Osun APC are saying they had their mandate to return to them through their court, the court judgment, the appeal court judgment of February in Akure, in which they said that shows they are back and they've went on to take over the councils. And the Osun PDP is saying you guys are jokers. In fact, an election, local government election was conducted, and the winners are all from the PDP. They have been sworn in by the state governor, although the state governor warned them, please stay away from the local councils to forestall violence, because like 6 or 7 persons died during that forceful takeover, or that back and forth rather, earlier in February. And since then, those workers have been at home. Nothing significant has been happening at the councils, yet salaries are being drawn from where? Who is bankrolling? The Osun State government are saying, let's take it to the courts. And now, we would like to see and analyze. Our guests will tell us where they are. Is it a continuation of that side of the struggle, or is another fresh one? And why is the Osun State government suing at this time? Is the local government allocation that belongs to the local councils? So why is Osun State government suing everything, and the allegation that the federal government has withdrawn those allocations? Where is it? Everybody will have a chance to be part of that conversation, but that will be after now. And let's remind you that we are live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV. Stay with us.